should appear on the screen. Yes, it's not saying that we are recording.
Okay, lovely. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Community Services Committee, 15th November. The Town Council records all public meetings held in the Council Chamber. Under new legislation, members of the public are able to record, film and broadcast from a designated area. Please be aware that the meeting may be recorded and might be filmed or broadcast. So let's move to the agenda. Item number 1, apologies. Received apologies from Jane Ray. She's unable to attend the meeting tonight because of school commitments. Do we all resolve to accept that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item 2, declaration of interest. Has anybody got any interests that need to be declared in this agenda?
No.
Okay, thank you. Move to item 3, the chairman's report. I think, as I said the last time, and having in consultation with the town clerk, it would be quite a good idea to try and have a little summary of some of the things that have gone on between the last meeting and this meeting, just to sort of like keep everyone up to speed with things. So I'm going to quickly try and paraphrase this because I've given you copies in front. But basically, been busy with a number of local community issues being followed up. Councillors Brosnan and Haynes have been exploring the possibility of a park run in Harpenden. Stakeholders met with councillors and HTC officers to discuss routes and carry out risk assessments. Progress has been made and discussions are ongoing, and I think it's quite positive. Would you agree, Patrick? On that?
Yeah.
That's good. A meeting initiated by Councillor Haynes has also taken place with St Albans District Council to discuss the devolution of assets, namely green spaces in the park, which is still under the ownership of St Albans District Council. It was a very positive meeting and we await confirmation of an agreement. Purchasing the storage depot, currently owned by St Albans District Council, was also discussed. Following the torrential downpour which we all experienced, Council was made aware of the significant flood damage to retail outlets and Station Road. Councillors Ray and Scott visited the premises and provided advice to shopkeepers on the relevant authority and companies to contact to see if the issue could be rectified, re the drainage problems. As a result, Thames Water, apparently the CEO department, has responded to Barry and has said it will be investigating the matter in the coming weeks. Councillors attended the Harpenden Trust AGM in October. They met with volunteers and heard about some of the excellent community initiatives run by the Trust. Now, the Banking Hub, which is Councillor Haynes, Councillor Liver, Alistair Ray and Derek French, who's the lay representative, have been busy on this subject again. I'm afraid progress has been interrupted by the announcement that Nationwide Building Society is withdrawing from the Cash Access UK with the intention of serving its customers through its own branches. This development is important because whilst MBS remained part of the Access UK, it was seen to meet the last bank in town criterion, a stumbling block for towns like Harpenden in applying for a hub, if you follow that. It's all sort of like, what have you got and what can you get depending on the banks that are around. Cash Access UK wrote to HTC advising that it could take some time for it to consider the impact of the MBS decision. In response, the Town Council wrote back to the CA UK, noting its frustration with the delay and stressing the urgent need for banking facilities in the town as soon as possible. So that's an ongoing issue, obviously, but there's lots of talking going on, and there's been some progress. 2 steps, 1 step forward, 2 steps back, but let's hope we move forward again in the coming years. So that's the chairman's report taking us up to this meeting. Any urgent items?
Chair, I don't have any urgent items.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to item 4, public questions.
Chair, there are no public questions.
Thank you. Item 5, the minutes from the last meeting, 30th September. Do we all agree that These are accepted as a correct record. Okay, everything fine? Lovely. Oh, I'm Simon, just bear with me one second.
Just on which
Oh,
page?
yeah. Good on. No. Sorry. So we'll move on to item 6 on the agenda, which is to receive the minutes of the Christmas Carnival Working Party meeting of the 11th of September 2023, which have been circulated. I don't know if everyone's had an opportunity to read them. Any questions on that? No. So we'll receive them, agreed. Also to receive the minutes of the Remembrance Day Working Party of the meeting held on the 26th of September. Been circulated.
Yes.
Anything arising from any of that? No? Receive those? Thank you.
Other than it was next day, I thought.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Joni. It was a shame about the weather, but it didn't make any difference to the proceedings. And actually, I don't think it was talking to Jane. I don't think it made any difference to the actual turnout. I think turnout was great. It was really, really good. Wasn't it? Okay, lovely. So we'll move now to the officers' reports, which is item 7.1, which is the forward planner and resolution tracker. Okay, on page 10. So if I defer to you, Phil, and you and everything that it's all about, which is really just the plans for the future.
So, Chair, thank you. In brief, it's exactly that. It's a regular item on the agenda for this meeting, and the forward planner outlines the agenda items for future meetings, and the resolution tracker should have the latest updates on the items that this committee have looked at.
If you look at it, you'll see that most of them have been completed. Obviously, there's this. I think we've raised it before. We've talked about it before about the bylaws, which are in progress. But it seems to take quite a long time for these things to go through with the land registry. Okay, so we are asked as a committee to note and approve, subject to any comments or amendments, and to note the resolution tracker attached to appendix 2 and approve. Any questions or issues as a result of that? No?
Just one thing I noticed with the circus tender, that we've agreed to decline both tender submissions. And I just wonder if it's probably not a question for this committee. Are we planning any other events, in a sense, not to completely take the place of the circus, but residents are bound to complain?
Yes, we are, aren't we? We're looking at that.
So, Chair, yes, the town clerk will be looking to the events team to look to see what else would be available.
Yeah. Actually.
So the recommendation is to note and approve on both items 2.1 and 2.12. Are you happy? Are there any questions? All in favour? Thank you. So where am I next? To the budgetary control, which is on page 16. Right. So this is the budget for 2023 into 2024. Do you want to?
Yes, Chair, thank you very much. So Item 7.2, budgetary control. This is a report by the finance manager. It presents the actual expenditure and income position for the Community Services Committee budget as of the 30th of September. The variances are covered within paragraphs 3.13 and 3.14 of the report. But in summary, the town council didn't know when the budget was set how much income would be generated by the Rothamsted Mugger and tennis courts. Mugger is multi-use games area. And the other variance is within staff costs and is attributable to the fact that we haven't yet recruited an apprentice town ranger.
Okay, and do you want to sort of like then explain what the 7.3 is, Phil, the second look at the budget for 224 to 225?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Are you then going to deal with the recommendations for both?
Oh, yeah, at the same time, yes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Just move to the next one. So, Chair, the purpose of this report is a second look at the budget for next year, 24-25. There have been no changes since what was presented to Council in September. The council tax base is yet to be built into this when it is ready. The finance manager says he's confident that the 9.11% increase presented to the council is likely to be less than that after the council tax base has been received. The increase should be less than 9.11% when it goes to council during January.
Okay, lovely, thank you. So are there any questions on any of that? Put them together so that you've got a sort of a little bit of a continuity and a flow. Anything on obviously the first one, 2023 to 24, and then moving on to the second look.
know why it looks the way it does.
Yeah, everyone content. So on the first one, 7.2, the committee is asked to firstly note the report and secondly note the release reserves set out in Appendix A. Do we all agree to that? Yeah, happy with that, thank you. And then on the second one, 7.3 budget 2024 to 25. The second look, the committee is asked to note the current forecast position regarding the 2024-25 budget for this committee as set out in Appendix A. Are we all in agreement with that? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Right. Moving on to the health and safety tree surveys, which is on page 28.
Thank you, Chair. Harmony Town Council has approximately 31,000 trees. Health and safety surveys are required to be carried out in accordance with the Harmony Town Council tree policy. Harmony Town Council currently use a company called TMA. They completed the last round of tree surveys about 18 months ago. That's the first time that we'd used them. And we also now use their tree management IT system as well, which is proven to be very good. We've been satisfied with their performance regarding their the surveys that they've completed, and their costs proved to be very competitive compared to other companies when we asked for the initial quotes, which would have been, I think, about a year, possibly 2 years ago now. So committee are being requested to approve that they complete our next round of tree surveys, which the plan would be that they start in January.
Okay, thank you. Has anybody got any questions on that?
Got a comment.
Go.
I'm retraining as a tree assessor.
Oh, really?
How are you?
Yeah. No one will do in these prices. There are.
Yeah. How does the software reference each individual tree? Is it GPS location?
And a tree tag as well.
Yeah, although we go now more by the IT system than the actual physical tags on the trees themselves, because the IT system is so good. The system we had before, you could go into that and look at the maps, and then you could go to the site and find that there are no trees on the map where there are trees on the site, things like that. Whereas this place this is really accurate, and it not only provides sort of aerial views of the sites, which can be, there's an app that we can share with, for example, tree surgeon contractors. They can actually access the app to see where the trees are and see what the comments are on the survey. But in addition to that, separate to that app with that information on, Alex Nelson, our Green Spaces Development Officer, is actually the expert on their system, but it's a massive, great spreadsheet type thing, as you'd expect, with every tree recorded on there, and the survey recordings on there, and then it gets updated when works are done on that particular tree as well.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? So the committee is asked to approve Tim Moyer Associates to undertake the 18-month health and safety tree surveys across all of Harpenden Town Council's green space assets. Are we all in agreement that?
Yeah.
that continue?
As long as they take Jamie as an apprentice.
I like what they put in that quote and how it's not just about health and safety, they're looking at the tree condition, the habitat and everything else.
Yeah, it's really good. Lovely, thank you. So moving on to the review of the funfair charges for 2024, which is on page 41. Okay, but would you like to?
Yes,
Thank
so
you.
Chair, keeping it simple, the events team who are responsible for managing the fun fairs consulted the finance manager, who proposed that the best way forward in terms of increases was to use the consumer price index figure from September, which was 6.7%. So the figures that you see in there have been increased, are shown as increased for next year by that figure of 6.7%.
Any comments? Obviously, inflation's got down to 4.5 today. But things down could come up. Absolutely. Yeah. Any other comments on the charges for the fun fair? Okay, lovely. The recommendation is that the committee are asked to agree that the charges for fairs planned for 2024 are increased in line with the September 2023 Consumer Price Index figure of 6.7% and rounded to the nearest pound as shown in Appendix A. All in agreement?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, pesticide policy review, page 44. So do you want to just talk us through?
Yes, again, trying to keep it brief. Harpenden Town Council aims to ensure that pesticides are only used when absolutely necessary. We have two Green Spaces Development Officers who are very keen not to use pesticides unless we absolutely have to do so. And as a result, they seek alternative methods when they are available. This policy intends to ensure that the use are tightly controlled and that a proper authorisation process is in place. But you will also see that the policy does allow them to be used if it's appropriate to do so, because it's not practicable to use any other solution.
So as you can see, there are, quite official forms fulfilled with building, when people are using them. Any comments anyone would like to make?
Yeah.
Then,
On the whole, I think it's an excellent document. There's a lot of detail in there. I've sat on the other side of the fence and I've been indirect town council contractor spraying for the cricket club and other places. Excuse me, I found it even a few years back quite a useful document for myself. There's one part in here on the introduction where there's a lot of fact in here. But I would like to talk to someone before this. If this is, we talked about this in the summer and whether it goes to the likes of the allotment associations, because we didn't know whether they were using this or not, didn't we? Personally, I feel very uncomfortable with the decline of bees and other pollinators, bird species, mammals, fish and freshwater invertebrates have all been linked to pesticide use, and critical concern is the contamination of water sources. That's an opinion. That's not actually fact. There is some truth in it, but I think we need to be, the rest of it's so accurate, we let ourselves down there, I'm afraid, in my opinion. He said,
which paragraph is that again? Right at the
47.
page 47, paragraph.
Yeah.
Fifth. Oh, yeah, the growing concerns about pesticides.
Yeah. The other thing is, when it comes to page 53, record keeping, it's one of what weather conditions we're asking to be recorded.
Page 53, record keeping, section 5 on the approval form. Section 5, reporting of spraying operation. So that's on page 55. What was the question, Jamie? What
was spray? What weather conditions are we actually recording?
Okay, so time, wind speed, weather. So you're talking about having a clearer definition of weather.
Yeah, whether what wind direction needs to be. It's not wind speed as much as direction. If you've got a load of hedges that have been sprayed off, you need to know what direction that chemical's come from. It is really important. Believe me, I've got a very large insurance policy to cover this kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I wondered if, again, with the sports guys, you know, they've got contractors that hopefully know a bit more about it. But if we're going to be putting this to the allotment users, on page 53, when we talk about alternatives, it'd be really good is if we could give them examples, use, you know, genuinely useful ones, because they might not have the knowledge that, in theory, professional users may or may not have.
Great, thank you for those comments.
That is about my limit.
Have you made a note of those?
Yes, Chair, may I ask
Yes,
a
come back.
question?
Yes.
Just on the weather, are you just saying that there should be quite a detailed description of what the weather was?
If something goes wrong,
Yeah.
you'll need to say, weather conditions need to say, I mean, I've got a template, we can go through it next week, but it needs to be wind direction and wind speed, humidity, and whether it's dry and bright and temperature. I've got it all. When the HSE come asking, I've got a template that covers it. We can show it.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. That would be very, very helpful.
Okay,
One last thing.
yes, absolutely.
Phil, is this recorded by the staff as well, or is this just for third party? For the approval? Do you, town council staff have to fill this in as well?
That's a very good question, and although it doesn't actually say that, I think that we should actually say that that where the town council use it, that we should do one of these as well, so we've got the proper recording.
I would have thought they will be.
I'm sure.
It's a legality that they
I
have.
would
So
think so as well.
might not be the same.
thank you both for that input. Should we maybe not do that? Making note of recap on what Jenny was saying about forms.
So Chair, just see clarity.
See, yeah,
Um,
page 53.
So with the record keeping,
Yes.
I think we've clarified there that if the committee are minded to approve this, it could be subject to this bit being amended, the weather, the wind speed, wind direction and speed, etc., all being updated after consultation with Councillor Burrows within the next week or two. The other question I have is that, again, if the committee are minded to approve this, the paragraph that Councillor Burrows has pointed out is opinion about the fact that it could be the reason why certain species have declined. My question was, does the council, if they approve it, do they want it subject to that paragraph being removed? And I've noted the bit about if we are giving this to allotments, we need to give them examples of alternatives so that they're informed. And the other bit was that the town council was complete the application form as well.
Yeah. So I think everything is sort of like those amendments can be considered in consultation with Councillor Burrows. But it's just going back to the very first one about the paragraph. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same one. We're talking about on page 53. 47, the 47 one. Okay. So, oh yes, sorry, the growing concerns around pesticides. So, can we sort of like say, as well as the amendments that Councillor Burrows has mentioned, which are can be discussed further in terms of sort of like clarifying them, and we can say that we will review the paragraph on growing concerns around pesticides in the view.
I think even if it just says may be linked rather than have been, it's just very
Or
sensitive.
could be, yeah.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Or if they're misused.
Just a
Misuse is the issue.
yes,
Clarify.
slight clarification
Yeah.
on that bit. Paragraph 5, page 57. Okay, so subject to those amendments and further discussions with Councillor Burrows, the recommendation is that the committee approve the new Hertford Town Council pesticide policy from 2023 to 2025. Any all in agreement?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Should it be that long? 2025?
Reviewed every 2 years.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be very costly.
Yeah. Lovely. Okay, let's move on to item 7.7, which is on page 60. This is a bit of a shame, this one. Our Harpened in Blue competition, as you've probably all seen, the lovely posters that have been around. But unfortunately, it hasn't really been a great success story. I'll hand you over to Phil.
Yeah, that's correct, Chair. Thank you. So about this time of year last year, we considered bringing this to committee to consider, for the committee to consider approving that the competition should be discontinued then. But we decided that we wouldn't do that then. We'd ask the committee to approve running the competitions again during 2023, so that we made sure that we marketed them properly to make sure that it wasn't a marketing defect and that the issue was that there was actually very few people who were interested. So I think that the town council have marketed it well this year, but the figures show that it's possible that the amount of officer time involved in doing this is disproportionate when compared, or when taken against the number of people who actually have an interest in entering.
Thank you, Phil. So if you look at page 61, point 3.4, you'll see how it was highly promoted through websites, messaging, posters involving sent to schools, posters on notice boards, social media. And then 3.5, the actual entrance, 5 for the most creative container, 8 for the tallest flat sunflower, 3 for the sunflower with the most heads, 20 most responses for the best logo, and 1 for the best scarecrow. So the amount, as Bill has alluded to, the resource implication is it's 25 hours of officer time, which amounts to 3.5 days, apparently, of part of the budget, for officers to dedicate their time to doing it. So the recommendation, subject to your comments, is that it should be discontinued, Harpenden in blue.
The competition.
The competition. Sorry.
Wondering, does anyone know if there's anything it's competing with schools wise or anything like that?
I think it's more parents not having time to
Do that as well, yeah.
It is a shame. The winners came in the other day to be presented with their certificates, and there weren't a huge number of them, of course, the winners. And you saw pictures of the tallest sunflower and the one with the most heads. It was impressive. There was a lot of heads on that sunflower. But if there's so few entries,
I think the problem is that schools are under a tremendous amount of pressure in a post-COVID era. It's all about catch up, and time's tight, and teaching budgets are tight, and staff levels are low, and this is just another. And so I just don't think there's necessarily.
What I found in China, it has to be up and ready to fit into their curriculum. So it's actually making it easier for teachers.
Yeah.
And sadly, I guess this is a nice to have on the side that they don't get time for, but it is a real shame.
It's a real shame, but I think from a council perspective, in terms of the man hours and the costing, I think it speaks for itself, really, doesn't it? So unless anyone has any objection, the recommendation is that the committee is asked to consider approving the Harpenden in Bloom competition should be discontinued due to the low public interest and participation. We're all in agreement. Maybe, sorry.
It's just, I'm not against discontinuing at all, but whether or not a local garden centre or something wants to take it on as a joint venture, maybe, or even if you can put less into it, as if some, because people grow sunflowers all over the town anyway. So even if you just did it as a smaller thing and people send in a picture or something like that, to try and keep
like
it
that now. They send in a
that
picture.
people aren't going,
Yeah.
no,
Maybe, in years to come when hopefully things improve and, there's more time for these sort of what I call extracurricular events associated with schools that we might come back and look at it again. But, I think in the current climate.
or if they start doing one, we could try and help with one that they come up with.
Possibly. But from the point of view of the council this evening and the committee, I think we're all in favour, yes, of it being discontinued. Thank you. Moving on to item 7.8, which is on page 69. Go through these lovely pictures. So this is the Harpenden Green Space hay cutter tender. So I'm going to go over your list to explain what this is about.
Thank you, Chair. There are certain areas that you will have seen within the tender specification that the town council get cut annually, and it requires specialist equipment and a tractor of a larger stature than the tractor that we have. So this is a specialist task which we need to contract out. Usually, historically, the town councillors sought quotes for the works annually, but it was thought that if we could try a 3-year tender exercise instead, it would save officer input because this would be a 1 in 3 years exercise rather than annually. And it might result in some submissions that provide better value for money for the town council. So that's the reason that the committee is being asked to consider approving a HACAP tender for the next few years.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on that? Jamie?
Done a few of these in my time. This is excellent.
Yeah.
There's actually information in here rather than a guess. I don't just mean the right areas. I mean, you prescribe what you want and plenty of others don't. And you have to guess. And then they go, oh, you didn't do what we wanted you to do. Well, we're not my business. So it's all here. The 3-year thing is excellent. I think that would be a minimum for me, really. Being sitting both sides of it, it got that security from contracts. So this isn't a small area. This is a decent sized area, and it could make a difference. You know, what would be really lovely if we went to someone local that's trying to get going in this kind of business, and it would be a great opportunity for them. You get. Hopefully that they see the security in it and put in a sensible price rather than a one-off job. And as you know, they might not be quite sharp on their inflation predictions as you might be, and hopefully you get a bit of a deal as well. I'd like to know what happens once this is approved. Do we get to see the list of who applies?
The Chair, the way that this works is that if the tender specification is approved today, and I've just spotted a typo in paragraph 2.1, which I'll have to try and work out in a minute, it's to do with the dates. If the tender specification is approved by the committee tonight, then the intention should be, and I think that the timescales are all correct for this.
Tomorrow it opens.
Yeah, and we should, it will, yeah, the intention would normally be that we bring the recommendation back to here at the January Community Services Committee to ask for approval of the preferred contractor.
Okay.
And because these reports are usually done in public, like we are talking now in public, it will normally have the details of the person who is being recommended as the preferred contractor, but it will also include other prices that were quoted, but it won't necessarily say who the names of the people were that were next to them.
Okay, but so that's fine, but this is all leading on to another question. You're talking about completion within a time frame. Two of us on this table know quite a few of the people that do this kind of gig these days. And I, for one, would be very uncomfortable with last year's contractor doing it again. The damage that they've done up by the football pitch, the amount of flammable material that they left on site for over a week was completely unacceptable. At best, that stuff has gone for compost. At worst, I don't want to comment. As I said, I've done this gig before. Sometimes they catch fire when you take them home because you've got no other use for them. The real tragedy in this is you are asking them that they can get on the 1st of August. At that point, dog poo aside, that is an eatable product for animals. And it's excellent because so many other organisations don't start until the 1st of September. It gets too wet, it gets too muddy, the quality of the grass is woeful, and you make too much mess. You are a step ahead of the Woodland Trust. They cannot get their head around it. They cannot understand that there is a balance between biodiversity and actually getting the job done. You're way ahead of that. You need to make sure that the person that you appoint isn't taking the mick.
So,
We're a local community. We should be trying to find someone locally.
so I don't know, Phil, whether you've got people in mind. But obviously it goes out to tender on tomorrow, and there's a month then. So you you send it to or alert people that you have worked with before or people that have been recommended to you?
So just in my 6 years with the council, I think at least 3, possibly 4 different companies have done it during that time. I also know that we will send it out to other companies that we are aware of who do this kind of work. So it will go out to as many people as we're able to put it out to.
That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. It's, you know, you can, there's a few pictures there. There's nothing of my children doing anything inappropriate, but you can see there's standing water and there's massive heaps of grass that you put your arm in them and they're red hot. They do spontaneously combust. It happens. Nickel back me up. You can't leave stuff like that. You know, and if for a week, it wasn't for a couple of days.
That sort of damage will be there for, until you fix it.
Good.
So I just want to say, Chair, that I was grateful to Councillor Burrows, because he grabbed me up after the last Community Services Committee meeting, brought that to my attention that it was a fire hazard. And as a result, I was able to get our Green Spaces Development Officer to start contacting them straight away and putting pressure on them to get rid of it sooner rather than later. I'd also like to say thank you to the councillor for his compliments about the tender, and I will pass them back to the Green Spaces Development Officer who put the tender specification together.
Thank you. So we are asked to, the date being 2024, it's the 27th. That's what, was that what you were looking
Yes,
at?
it's opposite typing.
Yes. So we're asked, the committee is asked to approve the proposed Harpenden Green Spaces Haycut tender for 2024 to 2027 as in Appendix A, which Jamie has been referring to in terms of the detailed specification. Thank you. Sorry, Patrick, did you put your hand up?
No, I was
sorry.
just saying yes, yeah.
Sorry. Oh, yes, so sorry, I forgot to say, we are all in agreement?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So 7.9 events programme, page 87. Right, so this is our calendar of events which will be taking place in 2024. I'll hand over to Phil. There is one major story emerging from this 3.4.
So, Chair, thank you. The events programme should come before Community Services Committee at this time of year, every year, for the committee to review the programme and decide whether or not it is happy with what is in the programme for the following year. The paragraph 3.4 that the Chair refers to, the round table, the Harpenden round table, have indicated that they are not happy with the role that they've been performing within the carnival, and I think it's true to say that they've made representations that it puts too much strain and stress on their members to continue with the way things have been up until this year. So Harpenden Town Council intends to pick up the reins for the carnival for next year and to do the things that might have formerly been done by the round table. The round table will be given an area within the carnival site in order for them to do their fundraising, but obviously their role would change to that rather than being one of the main party and the main sponsor of it, if you like. If when we move to the way that it's going to have to be delivered next year, it's financially, if it proved to be financially detrimental to Harpenden Town Council, then there might be further considerations that have to be made in respect to that. And then it will be brought back to councillors at some point during 2024 to make a decision as to whether or not Harpenden Carnival continues in its in the form that it's been known as for the last few years, or whether the 2025 event schedule gets updated and changed, and perhaps a different type of event takes its place.
I think it's been, from what I've been informed about it, it's sort of been superseded by other events that have emerged, and there's only so many things that people can go to in a weekend that they, you know, that they decide, oh, we're going to be in Harpenden, we'll pop down to this and that. And it's had not great attendance, is my understanding, for a number of years now. It's sort of, yeah, not had the level of support that it did have. So I think this is the plan. I think, and also I think from the Rotary's point, from the Round Table's point of view, they don't have necessarily have the people to actually take. Well, they don't want to take it on any further. They want to step back. So I think that the proposal, as far as this is concerned, is that we step in next year. We see how it goes. Obviously, Round Table will still have a presence. And then once we've got to that point, we can make our own assessment of how successful it's been based on how it's organised and turnout and revenue, and then look at possible alternatives that might take place that might fill that slot. Obviously, there are lots of different things you hear about, parties in the park and sort of like outdoor cinemas and different things. So there are a whole array of other things that could be considered. I mean, and just a revamped carnival might happen. I don't know, but I think that's where we're at the moment, as far as that's concerned. But also, if you just look at the whole list, if you can see, there is so much going on that people sort of do pick and choose, and then you have your favourites that people will always go to. That's right. So it's that type of thing, yeah. So that's the schedule. We're asked today to approve the events calendar for 2024, as you see in Appendix A, noting what was said about the Harpenden Carnival in the summer on 3.4. Any further thoughts, anybody?
I think it's too much. There's a lot of it's got the farmers market. Yeah, I understand. It's, as individual big events, it's not really overrun.
No. Okay, so happy to approve the Harpenden Events Calendar 2024. Everyone in favour? Jamie, did you want to say something? Everyone in favour? Okay, lovely. Right, so I'll move to item 7.10, 10, concourse promotional usage policy, which is on page 94.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this presents for consideration a usage policy for the concourse. This is more about the types of use that local charities and local organisations have traditionally used it for. Some of the charities have the occasional stall down there. It is different to the commercial usage that we see with food traders and things. But in addition to the charities and local organisations, there's there's other people use it that would come under this policy, such as key partners, such as the police, for example,
Yeah.
when they do their crime prevention.
Any questions on the policy in Appendix A?
Philip said that it doesn't, this does not apply to commercial organisations. And this statement on 1.3, page 96, it says the concourse is not available for use by profit-making organisations, private limited companies, or community interest companies. So where does that leave companies like Amelia's, if we say that?
So, Chair, my understanding is that we see that as a completely separate thing.
Yes.
This policy is all about the type of charity, not-for-profit type organisations. The commercial use that brings in commercial income for the town council, which, for example, could include a market stall type trader on there. That's something completely separate for this, and I think that paragraph that you just alluded to is meant to indicate that this policy isn't meant for people like the commercial traders.
Could I ask a question just for information? Is this the only place that charities can reside, or can they go elsewhere? Is it just the concourse, or?
So, Chair, it is the main place that charities use. It is the place that when a charity contacts us that we tend to direct them to. It's a hard standing surface. It's also quite high footfall there as well, with people using the Pelican Crossing to cross the road. There have been a couple of occasions where there have been special days for voluntary type stuff where the scouts and the guides, there's been too many applications for that particular day, special day, for the concourse. So on that occasion, I think we've let the scouts use an area of Church Green. But in general, the concourse is the area designated for this type of purpose.
Can I just ask, I have seen charities outside Marks and Spencer just with a small stand. Is that council owned?
That's not town council land, so I don't know who they would have made the application to, but they would have to, if they're collecting money, they have to get a permit for that from, I think it's St Albans District Council. But in terms of the land use, I don't know whether they'd be going to St Albans for permission or whether they'd be going to Herts County Council for permission for that.
But I was just wondering if we saw people collecting for alleged charities anywhere else, then we can tell that they are not a charity. It doesn't work like that. It's just the town council.
I'd say it wouldn't. I don't think it'd be as safe to assume that they haven't got permission, because obviously Harpenden Town Council only control Harpenden Town Council assets.
Thank you.
Okay, so sorry. Going back to that. So the recommendation is that the committee reviews and approves the concourse promotional usage policy as attached at Appendix A. Has everyone had enough time to have a quick look at that? And are we happy to approve? Right. Let's move to Batford Springs Local Nature Reserve Management Plan 24 to 27. Which is on page 99. I'll hand you over to Philip for this.
The Chair, clearly this presents a new management plan for the Batford Springs Local Nature Reserve. All of the town councils, even the small ones, all of the town councils' green spaces now have a management plan of varying degrees. So even places like Harbour Close will have a small management plan. So the management plan is sort of scaled to the needs of the site, really. Batford Springs local nature reserve is clearly very significant, and probably this is probably the second biggest management plan of all the management plans that we've got. It's likely that this committee will be seeing all the other management plans during 2024 anyway. But at the minute, this one has been reviewed, a new plan has been done, and it's before you tonight for your consideration as to whether or not you are inclined to approve it.
It's fascinating reading, actually.
Yeah, it's really.
Like the biology of it's really good at this. We were holding on to refer back to. So just looking at things like I was quite fascinated by the history of it being a watercress farm and going right back to the early 19th century. Some fantastic information in here. Yeah, 1830, the watercress farm, and 5 boreholes were drilled. Page 107, sort of a historical context bit there, which is really, really fascinating. It's definitely worth holding on to for this for reference. So has anybody got any questions on that? I've had a chance to look at it, it's quite detailed. Any observations?
Just wish the other landowners very close to us within the catchment looked after it half as well.
Yeah.
As the council. You know, chalk streams are sacrosanct.
Yeah.
And the size of the fish in the river, oh my word.
I was growing up.
That's an improvement, so you are. Any other comments or observations that anyone has on?
On the cost breakdown, are they quotes or are they estimates?
What page is that?
Sorry, 109. Table 1. Oh, sorry, it's since 2012. That's how much has been spent on it each part.
Yes, Chair, that's correct. It's what's been spent.
Yeah, and the budget is there at the top if you see. And it's just increasing, you know, and levelling off in 2025-26.
The only thing I would say, it's such an amazing thing to be doing. I'd love to be able to promote it more than it's the council.
Yeah.
Because it is just,
Yeah.
the river's drying up, all right, we'll spend 60 grand on
Yeah.
boreholes. You know, absolute genius, because it doesn't work otherwise. Honestly, I thrown away when we went down there doing the allotments and had a poke around over the edge.
Well, it has been in the recent forum, hasn't it? There's been more stuff on articles on green spaces and biodiversity. But I think it is a relevant point. Actually, I think it's probably quite a few people in Harpenden, including myself probably, who was not aware of the extent of just how fantastic the work that has been done down there, and sort of the creation of the biodiversity. If you could actually promote even more, really nice. Something like outside, there's some things in there. It's a pretty unique development. The way it is being tended and looked after and developed. For residents, it's a really good idea actually to do that feature.
Local Sharkies, your man.
It's actually, you know, it's a kind of guy.
He lives in Hertfordshire. Yes, with Chalk Street.
He would probably say,
Be all
this is
over
what we can do.
Exactly. This is a proper success story.
Quite good, isn't it? Yeah.
Especially with the amount of food that gets put in the river.
Yeah, I think it's probably got some media legs, that actually. Alex, local TV. Yeah, well, yes, local BBC, yeah. You could also, the Victoria maybe plugged into, some people could, yeah, something we can look into further, maybe. I think to see to sort of like promote it and highlight some of the great work that's been done. So the recommendation is that the committee approve the 3-year Baptist Springs Local Nature Reserve Management Plan 2024
I
to,
think Nick wants to say-
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, it's just, I don't know whether I want to open the can of worms or not. So if you're on page 106, so you've got a bigger map, that's all. So the springs run down to the end of Piers Hill Lane, Boston Sewer Lane. On the other side of the river, it's just, there's a block of land that is becoming increasingly, people are thinking about building on it
okay,
and going down that route. Is there ever scope to acquire pieces of that site? Because it's not, it doesn't look like it's in the red boundary. And try and square that bit off.
when you say,
So,
thinking of people, building on it, have you seen it in the local, is it a site earmarked in the local plan?
no, I
Is
know
that Pickens Hill?
the person who lives there.
Right.
It's in their head.
Right, oh, so it's
Because-
not in the current local? plan?
No, sorry. So because you've got the school now on that corner,
Right,
it's an axis, so traffic slowed down. So that people think that, oh, there's a block of houses down there, everyone's thinking the same. And I know there was a block of land towards Wheatonstead, that green square on the north side of the road. Tried to do the same thing, and it's a massive area for scope of building, basically. Now the school's gone in, it's probably something, but to draw that line, that where the furthest east of the thing goes, to carry that across the river and straight up to the road and keep that within it would be quite nice. I don't know if people are thinking the
do
same.
do you understand what? you mean?
So I'm assuming that we're talking of the land on the opposite side of the river from the Marquis Meadow section. Is that
Yeah.
right? So
It's,
I don't know huge amounts about what you've just been saying there, but we did have a challenge created by occupiers of the land on the opposite side of the river, which is why we've now got a fence that goes all the way along our side of the river. And
You like horses, Phil?
yeah, I do quite like horses, but they're best when they're not on our land. And during trying to problem solve that, the police got involved trying to help us identify who the landowner was. And there was an owner, I think that they had traced the owner from Land Registry, but the address they had for the person shown as owning it didn't seem to exist at that address, and so we couldn't actually
Right.
trace the owner at that time. And what we became aware of was that it appeared that the people who were using that land, it wasn't
Just-
their land, they were just using it, taking advantage of it.
Right. But the other field, not talking about that one, the one nearer the houses are owned by the little cluster of houses by the
Yes.
ford. And it's just one of those things that scares me, that if one bit creeps, then the next bit creeps, and the next bit, and that whole field that's by the Marquis changes completely. Because it's nice to have green on the other side of the river, you've got green both sides of the river, and to have that then to be some kind of estate or big or small, is whether or not that changes things for the whole spring. So it's just something to highlight for down the road.
I've made a note.
Mate, I was going to say, if we make note of the observation and then you can follow it up. So do we all approve the action, the management plan for Bradford Springs? Okay, thank you. So if we move on to page 150, which is 7.12 event inquiries, this is the specific inquiry to hold an event.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So Hartlepool Town Council have an event protocol. So when people from outside of the town council want to hold events on our land, the protocol defines the events in terms of scale and what level of approval would be required for the event to go ahead. This is a charity event, and you will see that the recommendation from town council officers is for the committee to consider approving it. And the reason it's come to committee in line with the events protocol is due to the potential size of it, which I think is somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people, which means that it's an event larger than what the clerk can approve.
Okay. So it was explained to me that when something like this happens, there is a certain criteria that they have to fulfil, and they have to show their insurance certificates. And if there are sort of rides, things like that, they have to produce the safety certificates so that everything is actually checked out. That they are abiding by sort of like local rules and safety standards. So has anybody got any questions? Yes, it's a charity event for MS Society.
It doesn't say anything about other safety stuff, like if they're asking Red Cross or anything, that number of people to go along as well.
Yeah, they talk about paperwork.
Yeah.
And putting the event through the safety advisory group.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
So the Safety Advisory Group is a district group. It comprises of people from St Albans District Council, the emergency services, and they see the event management plan, the risk assessment for the event, and any other document that is required for it. And they then consider whether or not it's a risky event and whether they need to be advising the people that they either need more first aiders on site or they need to do certain things. So if it is approved by committee tonight, it then goes through those other bodies to who will, as well as our own events team, of course, who will see the paperwork. And we'll also advise them if they feel that there is something that needs attended to.
Thank you.
Yes. And any other questions on that? No?
Sounds like a
Okay.
fun event, really.
Looks very much like the Teddy Bear picnic review.
Yeah,
Bouncy castle.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a family fun event. So the committee is asked to approve the family fun event in aid of the MS Society UK in Rockhampton Park on the 16th of March next year.
We've checked her social media and what she promotes and stands for, and we're happy with that. I mean, seems pretty sort of family orientated and that sort of thing. It's just a big part of how she's going to get people there. There's her 90,000 followers.
Yeah, parking's going to be an issue that day, isn't it?
So Chair,
Yeah, sorry.
our events officer has met with the person who
Jane.
who wants to run this event and is satisfied that it is a genuine charity event.
Okay, thank you. Everyone, are we in favour? Yes.
What about the time of the year?
Yeah, I was thinking it'll either be 25 degrees or -5.
I mean, clearly,
I say, yeah.
clearly, Chair, the weather is a risk in March, but that's the date that the applicant has
Oh,
requested.
right.
Okay, thank you. So we have approved that item.
Yeah.
So moving on to 7.13, page 168, this is the purchase of the electric van for the town range.
Thank you, Chair. This van, being fully electric, is considered to be as environmentally friendly as a motor vehicle can be. It would be extremely useful with the increased number of town rangers that we now have, and the increased work schedule that they will face when the grounds maintenance is brought fully in-house at the end of March next year. The van is budgeted for. And the Toyota has a 10-year warranty Toyota, as far as I'm aware, from what I've heard on television and read in publications, that Toyota have a great reliability record. This particular van has a reversing camera and front and rear sensors, which the Nissan have a reversing camera. And although clearly vans have been driven for decades without reversing cameras, I think it's I think it's almost essential that the town council will put one on there. We wouldn't want the Rangers reversing into somebody or something. So the request is for the committee to consider whether or not they would approve this purchase.
So any questions or observations? Anybody?
More expensive if you take the camera off, put it on, but yeah.
I think, when you think about the world of taxis is built on Toyota electric vehicles, I would have thought, I'm surprised that I'm actually quite surprised at the prices. I thought they'd be more than that. It's a decent sized van. It's not a token sized van that you can actually put stuff in the back of it. It makes a lot of sense to me.
No charging point.
So, Chair, we would make arrangement for a charging point.
Oh, there is
Yeah.
one, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Obviously, charging points is something that we're also looking at in terms of our business plan, in terms of getting more across the town. So that will all fit together. So committee is asked to approve purchase of Toyota City electric van for the sum of £29,364. Money's already allocated from the capital reserve. So everyone in favour? Thank you. So that brings us to the final item, item 8. Any exempt business?
Chair, there is no exempt business.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, everybody, for coming this evening. Our next meeting is the 17th of January, so have a super Christmas, but I'll see you before. And that's it. We can close that 8:41. Why that watches fast, actually. 41, yeah. 8:41. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
So, thank you. This new Toyota means